Michigan Replay with Bo Schembechler and Jim Brandstatter. Brought to you in part by the General Motors Corporation, by Buick and your Buick dealer. The Great American Road belongs to Buick. By the financial professionals at Paine Webber. By GenCorp. By the Unisys Corporation. And by Budweiser. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Michigan Replay. The Wolverines 37-10 winners over Iowa in a key game for both clubs. Later on, we'll analyze the upside-down Big Ten, and we'll also have a scouting report of the Indiana Hoosiers. But first, let's talk a little bit about Iowa. A must game for Michigan, and I think it was a lot bigger score than a lot of people have expected. Would you agree with that?
Well, actually, I don't think the score was really indicative of the closeness of the game. Now, the game wasn't exactly close, but we had some breaks in there. You know, we hit a Hail Mary pass just before the half, and we had some breaks that allowed us to get on top of them good in the first half.
But coming off the Michigan State game, which was a very disappointing loss, you had to be very pleased with the way the team responded.
I thought they responded very well because they had a tough week of practice. There was a lot of critical coaching going on.
You were a little tough on them, in other words.
Yes, we were fairly tough. And I thought they responded quite well. But, Jim, bottom line is that we reduced our turnovers to 1. And by doing that, we had a great chance to win.
And your first possession, which is this part of the drive, was key in this game, I think.
Right. Well, the first thing you saw there was that Demetrius Brown had great protection. When you have protection, you know, you can go to secondary receivers, you can do what you want. And that's key. Here he hits Jeff Brown on a crossing pattern and goes out of bounds on the 2. And Demetrius sneaks in for the touchdown. So we get on the board right away. Now, the reason that's 6-0 is because they blocked our extra point.
And that is something you don't like to see.
Well, we really don't like to see that because that could have been... that makes you always start to figure out what you have to do after you score the next time.
But the defense makes a break here.
I thought they hurried the punter here. I don't think he blocked it, but at least he hurried him, and consequently we got the ball with good field position. Failed to capitalize with a touchdown, but did get a field goal, and we go ahead 9-0 in the second period.
Changed up your defense a little bit.
Well, we played, Jim, we played 4 down linemen. You know, we've got a lot of linebackers hurt, so the fact that you put 4 down linemen in there, you're playing with 3 backers rather than 4. I think it helped us some. The primary purpose was, of course, stop the run. We get the football back here, and Gerard Bunch, the big fullback, bucks up the middle for 10 yards. Demetrius goes back to pass again, hits Kolesar over the middle for a touchdown. Once again, I draw your attention to the fact that Demetrius has a lot of time back there to throw. You give him a lot of time with that type of an arm, and he's going to hit some passes on you.
And then Iowa doesn't give up. They come right back.
They come right back, and we knock each other off on this tackle on the big tight end, and he runs for 500 yards into our territory. And so Iowa's on the move. They're a dangerous team. They come back and throw once again to their second tight end over the middle. And they close the gap very quickly to 16-7.
At that point, game's not over, and you're thinking, hey, what's going on?
Well, the one thing that worried us, as you can see here, we picked up 4 or 5 yards on that play, but we weren't running the football well, and that always worries you. Here's a bootleg, and he gets the ball out to Kolesar, who's close hung there, and picks up a first down. We wanted to run the football more, thought we could, but we didn't have a lot of success, to be honest with you. We did on these in routes to McMurtry here, and he goes back again, hits the same thing again for a touchdown.
What was the difference between this week and last week when the receivers weren't open, Demetrius was throwing interceptions?
Number one is protection. I think that's more important than anything else. The other is, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to have...
That's the first time I've ever heard a coach say, I don't know.
I'd like to have a positive explanation for that, but I can't. You know, 1 or 2 of them maybe you can explain, but not 7. Here's a draw play just before the half. Brown gets a big hole, goes way down inside the 30, and unfortunately, that's our only turnover of the day, and it leads to an Iowa field goal and quite a exciting finish of the first half. Iowa goes right back and And you see the protection he has. You give a guy that much time to throw, he's going to find somebody open. Finally, we bring him to a halt, and they kick a field goal to make it 23-10.
And that was with 4 seconds left.
Right,
and
now,
you had 2 seconds left with the football at about midfield.
Well, the surprising thing was they attempted an onside kick, and that gave us the ball at nearly midfield. Now, I don't know why they did that, figuring, you know, maybe they wanted to throw this play. But this is what we call Sputnik. 3 receivers out on one side, and we hoist the ball in the air. I told Demetrius, I said, I want that ball 5 yards in the end zone.
And he put it there for you.
And he put it 5 yards in the end zone.
Why do you call that Sputnik?
Well, it's kind of, it's an outer space play. You know, you throw the ball as far as you can throw it, and you have 3 receivers down there to rebound. If the top 2 guys can't get it, bat it back to the third. And,
now, you
know,
worked
see what
on that
happens.
in practice, right?
Well, we've thrown it several times in practice. I don't like to throw it a lot because it means you're in desperation situations when you throw it. But we've worked on it before, yes.
Well, it certainly worked against Iowa, and we will be back, and we will take a look at that touchdown pass right before the half again, and we'll be back with second half highlights. That's next when Michigan Replay continues.
Basically, flood play where you have 3 guys on one side of the field, wide receivers. And what we do is send John down the middle, you know, clear everything out, and they either go up and catch it or tip it back to John, who's clearing out. And what happened was we got down there, and I turned around, saw the ball up there in the air, jumped up, caught it. Me and John caught it at the same time. And John just, you know, kind of let me have it, and touchdown.
The totally new Buick Regal. There's nothing like it on the American road.
Out on the horizon, the heart of a Buick, the start of a regal new day. The great American road was made for Regal. It's a Regal reward, it's the way it should be in this Regal American land. The great American road belongs to Buick.
Out here, it's me alone against the course. But in the financial world, you need all the help you can get. You need the PaineWebber Army behind you.
Even golf legends can use some financial backup. PaineWebber is ready to roll, putting all its resources at your command. We believe the quality of life just might depend on the quality of your financial services.
Thank you, PaineWebber. Now that's the kind of army you want behind you.
First, you test it on the computer. Then you test the parts. Then you spend $650,000 to build a prototype. People it with advanced anthropomorphic dummies and send it to the wall. GM studies the test from various angles. The car meets the 30-mile-per-hour federal frontal barrier standard. Then you test the design again, and again, and again, and again. Before the first customer buys a new GM design, it will have proved itself the hard way. General Motors, world leader in safety research.
Put in a new 4-man defensive line this week just so we could stop their run. They brought Ward Manuel in for an outside backer, and it was just like a normal defense, except one of our tackles, either Mark or John Herman, was playing the outside backer, and we had a 4-man defensive line so we could match up against our big tight ends. Yeah, I think Mark and John from the outside put on a lot of pressure, and sometimes they would chase them out of the pocket, and that's how I got there, chasing them down.
As T.J. Osmond said, the Michigan defense changed up a little bit, held Iowa to minus yards rushing. Did you ever think that would happen?
No, not really, because they had been running pretty well in the last couple of games, and you know, we were concerned about that. But I feel very strongly when you go into these games, you've got to stop a team's running.
Well, one of the things you've also said is that you want to force a team to throw. Now, in the third quarter, Iowa started throwing and started doing some things.
Well, they threw very effectively, and you have to give them credit for that. We have young linebackers, and, you know, they have a little trouble with their drops, and but, you know, I think that'll come around. This is a disappointing play. Mark Mesner had him sacked here, and unfortunately, we didn't get to contain on the other side because when he spun out, we should have had somebody over there tackling him. That was a big play because it gave him a first down and we had him contained. Here's a screen pass down the sideline to the big fullback, and they're moving the ball quite well. They got a significant number of yardage in the second half, but no points.
The score was 30-10. Here the defense comes up big, but again...
Every once in a while, here's a lineman that got beat, so he's turning around to see what happens, and there's a fumble for him to fall on. But this Hartlib is a very fine thrower, and here he threw to Watkins. They did a good job. This is a 4th and 9 situation, and comes over the middle. We're in a man underneath coverage there, and you can see he had a step on our defender and got the first down. 3rd down and 12. They had a lot of long yardage situations, and they capitalized on a lot of them, but not this one. We intercept the ball. David Arnold has a great interception, and that was a very, very key play there, Jim, because that kind of took the starch out of it. Here we are in the 4th period now. Short pass out to Tolasari. Got hit pretty hard there, but got good yardage for it. This is our drive for a touchdown in the second half. Demetrius goes back, hits Derek Walker, our tight end, over the middle for short yardage. And here on the wishbone, we run a reverse to Tolasari.
Little razzle-dazzle.
Little razzle-dazzle here, and he picks up good yardage. We were coming off of a holding penalty there. We had a 20-yard deficit to get the first down. On the option play, Demetrius does a good job and gets down close to the goal line. And then Jamie Morris, up the middle, scores the touchdown. And that's about all scoring there was in the second half. I felt in the second half that we had a 20-point margin at halftime. And the way things had been going for us, I didn't want to do anything that turned that ball over a lot of times. So we played a little conservatively in the second half.
One of the things you talked about last week is you were saying maybe we've given Demetrius a little too much to do. Did you pare down the offense much? Or let's put it this way. From the surface, it didn't look like your most imaginative effort.
Well, I don't know what you mean by imaginative effort. You mean double reverses and things like that?
Well, it didn't
Jim, as long as we've been on this show, I thought I've taught you more football than that.
But it didn't look as though you were trying to do some of the things you did against Michigan State, for instance.
Well, we we had a lot of the basic plays in there, and we had a lot of the trick 'em plays. We didn't use a lot of them, but we had them in there. Of course, when you get up on top like that, you know, you don't really want to too fancy, because you try to get too fancy, you're going to get beat.
The other thing I think that was impressive was the defense, and you said that you really were concerned about the defense after the Michigan State game. Changed to the 4-man line and went to 2 brand new inside linebackers. Explain that whole thought process.
Well, I think the 2 inside linebackers, Neil Simpson and Keith Cooper, are movement guys. They can run, and although they're inexperienced,
Michigan Replay with Bo Schembechler and Jim Brandstatter. Brought to you in part by the General Motors Corporation. By Buick and your Buick dealer. The Great American Road belongs to Buick.
This part of the drive was key in this game, I think.
Right. Well, the first thing you saw there was that Demetrius Brown had great protection. When you have protection, you know, you can go to secondary receivers, you can do what you want. And that's key. Here he hits Jeff Brown on a crossing pattern and goes out of bounds on the 2. And Demetrius sneaks in for the touchdown. So we get on the board right away. Now, the reason that's 6-0...
To be very pleased with the way the team responded.
I thought they responded very well because they had a tough week of practice. There was a lot of critical coaching going on.
You were a little tough on them, in other words.
Yes, we were fairly tough. And I thought they responded quite well. But, Jim, bottom line is that we reduced our turnovers to 1. And by doing that, we had a great chance to win.
And your first possession, which is...
By the financial professionals at Paine Webber. By GenCorp. By the Unisys Corporation. And by Budweiser.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Michigan Replay. The Wolverines 37-10 winners over Iowa in a key game for both clubs. Later on, we'll analyze the upside-down Big Ten, and we'll also have a scouting report of the Indiana Hoosiers. But first, let's talk a little bit about Iowa, a must game for Michigan. And I think it was a lot bigger score than a lot of people have expected. Would you agree with that?
Well, actually, I don't think the score was really indicative of the closeness of the game. Now, the game wasn't exactly close, but we had some breaks in there. You know, we hit a Hail Mary pass just before the half, and we had some breaks that allowed us to get on top of them good in the first half.
But coming off the Michigan State game, which was a very disappointing loss, you had